Hi everyone, it's Andrea Del Priore here to show you how you can optimize your resume to get more job interviews. Let's jump right in. So first at the top, of course, we have your name and then we have your phone number. So what you'll want to make sure you do is make sure that your voicemail is number one, set up, and that it's not full. When you get a new cell phone, you do need to set up your voicemail. That has happened to me recently. So make sure you have that set up so the person calling you to schedule the job interview can leave you a voicemail. And then from time to time, you need to delete some of your voicemails or your mailbox will become full. So you want to make sure that someone is able to leave you a voicemail and your mailbox is not already full. You also want to have a professional email address. So this can be a variation of your name. It can be an abbreviated version of your name. I encourage you to set up a separate email inbox specifically for your job search, and that will help you stay organized. A lot of us do like to have a fun email address or something creative or interesting, but this is not the time for that. You do want it to be a professional email address. You also do not need to include your street address. It is perfectly fine to simply have your city and your state. And that is especially important because of how clever identity theft persons are nowadays. You don't want to have your full street address floating out there. It's really no one's business. City and state is just fine. You also don't need an objective at the top of your resume. That is a little bit old school and no one is really doing that anymore. So feel free to leave off that paragraph of the objective off of your resume. For fonts, use a professional font like Arial or Times New Roman size 10 through 12. And use just black and white. Do not use color. So color is unprofessional on your resume. Next up, we have education. So if you see on the job description that they are looking for someone with a graduate education or that education is super important to them, then you can have your education at the top before your work experience. If, let's say, you have a bachelor's degree and they're not really emphasizing education all that much, you can put it toward the bottom after your work experience section. Let's say, for example, you earned your bachelor's degree in 1986 or in the 90s. You can leave off your graduation date from the resume if you are concerned about things like age discrimination. Similarly, if you feel or you're getting a sense that since you're younger, you aren't getting job interviews, maybe you could also leave off the graduation dates on your resume. I've left mine on there. I find that it is relevant to me personally. I don't have a problem with putting mine on there. And the latest one was in 2008, so that is getting a bit back in time, but for the most part, they're pretty recent. So in part, it's a judgment call for your personal interests. And then, of course, you want to look at the job description. If they're really emphasizing education, again, then you want to emphasize it and put it first, especially if you have advanced degrees. Now, your resume can be longer than one page, and it can go back about 10 through 15 years. If you have less experience and you're fresh out of college, or maybe you have 5 years of experience, you do want to keep it to one page. However, if you have several years experience and you've had several jobs, or you need to go over one page, go ahead and go into 2 pages or even 3 pages. That's fine. That rule, I've never really liked that rule. You don't need to keep making your font smaller and making your margins wider. No, go ahead and go on to 2 pages. Not a big deal at all. One more thing at the top that I see folks including lately is the LinkedIn hyperlink to their profile on LinkedIn. I don't really like that. That's my preference, but if you want to include that at the top, you can do that as well. Also, with your education, if you have something relevant to the type of jobs that you're applying to, let's say diversity is super important and you have a minor in African American studies, then you can put that included in your education there. Or if you had a project, a capstone project, an individual study, a thesis, something like that, that is relevant to the type of jobs you're applying to, then you also definitely want to add that under your education. Moving right along to your work experiences. So your current job should be in the present tense and your previous jobs should be in the past tense. So if this first one here was a current job, then I would say effectively work with subject matter experts, successfully facilitate instructor-led classroom training. You get the idea, present tense, but all of the previous jobs will be in the past tense. You can see that I highlighted some things here in the bluish color. I'm using some hot words that grab your attention. So I successfully did something, I effectively did something, and then in the green words is what I did, the action. So developed, facilitated, managed, supported, created, and then in the yellow, I quantified what I did. So these are all eye-catching things here that are very important on your resume. What you are aiming to do essentially is highlight your accomplishments, the actions that you took, and the results. So you want to use words like successfully, effectively, managed, created, achieved, designed, improved. And then you want to focus on the action that you took. And anywhere that you can quantify the outcomes, do it. So numbers, percentages, dollar amounts. These are in yellow here. For example, I successfully assisted over 75 employees. I served as a point of contact for 500 employee inquiries. I effectively worked with 15 managers. So these are all grabbing the attention of the hiring manager or the recruiter. And then another super duper important thing to note is keywords. So what you want to do is look at the job descriptions that you are interested in and find keywords that they keep using. So for example, I looked up a project coordinator and they kept using words like filing, managing paperwork, organizing, and communicating. So all of these things are paramount for a project coordinator. And if I was applying to that job, I would want to include those keywords in my resume and explain my accomplishments around those things, the actions that I took to file successfully, to manage paperwork, stay super organized, and communicate internally and externally, and quantify the results. So how many files, how many clients did I successfully work with and communicate with? What was the result of me staying so organized and so detail-oriented with my filing and managing paperwork? And the reason that this is so important is because of applicant tracking systems. So most companies are using applicant tracking systems nowadays, which we call in HR applicant tossing systems, because they will toss your resume in a heartbeat if it does not have those key words. So it's very important to get those keywords on your resume. Look up the job descriptions for the job titles that you're interested in. Notice a pattern in those words that they keep repeating. Those are the qualities. You could even copy and paste, as long as, of course, it must be truthful to your own experience. Copy and paste it right from the job description and put it in your resume, because the applicant tracking system is screening your resume for those keywords. All right, very important. And the savvy job seeker is doing exactly that. Some more examples here in the blue. We have those spicy words that are eye-catching: successfully, efficiently. And then in the green, those action words that I took: ensured, managed, improved, produced, facilitated. And then again in the yellow, quantifying what my results were. Reduced turnover by 15%, coached and guided 20 employees. You want to focus on your achievements, dig deep, and don't be shy. So this is hard for a lot of us. I know a lot of us are humble, but we really want to think about what we did and make it sound great, because we are great, our accomplishments are great, and we need to really shine through the competition here. You also want to only put relevant jobs on your resume and take out any irrelevant jobs. So for example, this resume of mine is geared towards human resources. I also have experience as an adjunct professor, as an academic advisor. I was a nanny several times. I worked in the food industry. I've had a million jobs, but I'm not going to put all of those jobs on here because they don't really have anything to do with human resources and learning and development. So this resume is a variation of my experiences that is for applying to HR jobs. I have another version that's more academic. So I encourage you to think about that, parse through your experiences, and make sure that you and your resume is relevant to those job descriptions that you're applying to. Let's take a look at the bottom. If you have any certifications, if you have software skills, that's also very important. So on the job description, are they noting we want someone with Excel experience? So you want to list it under software, and then you also want to list it under the job where you used Excel, for example. Any affiliations that you have, any language skills. And then if you have any volunteer work, that's important too, so people can see that you're giving back to your community. So when you are crafting your resume, you can go back about 10 through 15 years. Anything later than that, you don't need to add on there. And of course, you definitely want to proofread. So even in my own resumes, I always find typos. We're only human, we make mistakes. So you want to proofread your resume. If you need help, I do this all the time. I help my friends and family with their resumes. So I can definitely provide my services to you if you need some help. I would be glad to optimize your resume for you. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much. I hope you found this helpful. Please let me know if you have any comments or anything to add. And happy job hunting to you.